Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Greg Alba.
And I'm Spider John.
We have watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and let me tell you, to follow us on the Stardust app, people. Download it. It's free to use. There's so many people on it. We post 30-second reaction reviews for films, TV shows, and trailers. Have a great time doing it. It's also a lot of micro sketches. It's worth our time. It's worth your time. And you can post your own reactions as well. And if we like you enough, we just might follow you. Isn't that something special? Anyway, on to Into the Spider-Verse. I'll tell you guys, man, every once in a while, I walk into a movie and I go, wow. Overrated. This is not the case. See what I did? I defied expectations there because I'm that brilliant. I think this is most likely the best comic book movie of 2018.
I think you might be right about that.
And I've seen Infinity War 3 times in the theaters.
Oh, snap.
And Venom once. We're not going to do some giant breakdown or recover all the Easter eggs. That's going to be impossible.
If you look at this scene in the background.
Yeah. I'm sure you've already heard a bunch of non-spoiler reviews of this movie. I'm sure not the first review you're clicking on. We're not going to go over all the story detail elements of it, of what the plot setup is. One of the things I really dug about this movie was the storyline to it.
Yeah.
I was really wildly impressed with how well they juggled so many different characters.
Yeah.
It's easy to assume that this might be something that's like very over-convoluted, but I think
it's convoluted, but in the right way.
It's very concise. Everything's very tight, which surprised me. And I think it's because all the other Spider-Man characters in this movie are already very experienced. They already know the game very well. And what makes it such a great journey for Miles till the very end of the movie is Miles is someone who doesn't have any experience with this, and he's constantly learning throughout. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't even get his suit till like the finale of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you really are watching the origin of this kid as he's thrust into this situation, and as he's learning, from all the different characters around him, and that makes him a very clear and very relatable protagonist because he's kind of a fish out of water everywhere he goes.
They did a great job at having this ticking clock of what must be done, and in the midst of that, him having to learn how to be Spider-Man while still introducing surprise villains, surprise Spider-Man characters all throughout. And the animation in this film is just dazzling. It's spectacular.
It's really cool.
It's like this mixture of 2D and 3D. It feels like a comic book. I felt like nothing could ever really top Sin City in terms of live action of looking like a comic book. But this one, in terms of animation, wow, I've never seen anything like it. It has the best opening credits and the best ending credits.
Yeah, man. Well, it really feels like a comic book page just started to move in a totally different way than a lot of the other stuff we've seen thus far. And you have the different characters from the other dimensions, and the style changes with them as well, which is part of the fun, because the animation is so bright and beautiful, and it also borrows from graffiti art, neon colors, and things like that. There's a definite graffiti and hip-hop slant to a lot of the aesthetics and whatnot, and it makes for a really cool, unique vibe, as well as just a classic Spider-Man vibe, too.
Yeah.
Like, it does both really well. It's fun, but it also has some decent emotional weight to it, in the journey that Miles has to go on and what's at stake for him.
It's very dark at certain moments. Like, I think something that I don't hear a lot of people really talking about. Mahershala Ali plays Aaron Davis, who is the Prowler. If you've read any backstory on who the Prowler is, you would know that. And the movie really doesn't treat you in a
savory guy.
and the movie doesn't treat the audience in a way as if they already know. They treat it like a big twist reveal because it's a twist reveal for Miles Morales' character.
So that's appropriate for the people who aren't aware that's going to hit, and for us who are aware, it is well foreshadowed, at least,
Because I found myself really enjoying the movie a hell of a lot before Jake Johnson Peter Parker showed up. Because you have the Chris Pine Peter Parker, which threw me off, because you were able to tell it was Chris Pine. I couldn't, but I knew it wasn't Jake Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, wait a minute. That's not him. It was in tune with the Peter Parker that eventually becomes the main Peter Parker in the movie.
Yeah, it's like this is an alternate Peter, but not that alternate.
The very confident, heroic version. I love what they did with Peter Parker in this, though. This is the adult Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I love that. The other Spider-Man movies, they always start off when they're really young, but even with Tobey Maguire, by the time he gets to Spider-Man 3, he still feels like the young...
Oh, yeah, he's still a young man. He's still like in his early 30s or something.
But this Peter Parker, the Jake Johnson version that he spent time time with he got married, he had a life, he got divorced.
divorced.
I love that he's gaining weight.
He's like a flubby Spider-Man. You get the sense he's like taking time off and he's like trying to get into it again.
Because when I saw the trailer, and I wasn't sure how I'd feel about this like lazy Spider-Man character, but he's so funny. It's such a refreshing take, even on Peter Parker. It's not just the Miles Morales element and this crazy multiple universe element that makes it so unique and refreshing. Even the take on Peter Parker is refreshing in this one.
Oh yeah, well, and this movie allows for them to do a lot of pretty interesting and broad things. Not everybody would want that flavor of Spider-Man just to be the definitive one, but it works really well for this movie, and it's not overbearing because you have all the different personalities together. And, you know, you've got Gwen, too, who's a little more of a focal character, her vibe that she brings to the movie, and then, you know, you got the other ones to fill in sort of the fun parts. I was surprised because the trailer was good at concealing stuff. I didn't expect for us to actually have this universe's Peter Parker die up front and have to deal with that, because there is a weight beyond just him getting the power and wanting to use that power for something and find meaning in it, but it's also like he witnessed the loss of this universe's Spider-Man.
Which gives a good purpose and motivation for Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I love that little nugget of when, you know, Mary Jane's giving a public speech. Everyone's wearing their Spider-Man costume, which, by the way, features this amazing Stan Lee cameo.
Yes.
Like, eventually, it fits. You know?
No refund.
No refunds. It was funny because you kind of get this mixture of a lot of what Stan Lee sort of represents in that moment, because that fits in tune with who Spider-Man is. Eventually it fits. You know?
It's a cheeky joke, but it also rings true.
Yes. Yeah, I really appreciate that cameo. You got this main character, Miles, who already is trying to find his own identity, and then you got Peter Parker, who has his own redemption path tale. And then with the other Spider-Man characters, I love how they always reintroduce them. Let's do this one last time.
Yeah.
Let's do this one last time. And
I
then
was
you see
when they were kids.
and you see like the different origin of it. And I love the joke of, you know, you get the Peter Parker one, the one that's kind of playing on things we've seen from the other Spider-Man movies. You know, even with the Spider-Man dancing.
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
That was for me. Just for me.
You get the other one with the Peter Parker from Jake Johnson, which is playing on the same path, but then it starts going down like a different...
Totally gets a lot more realistic and a lot less exciting and a lot more just kind of regular
just very depressing stuff. I really like Spider-Man Noir.
Nick Cage.
I think out of all the other Spider-Men, he was the standout one for me. What makes him so funny is how serious he takes himself.
Yeah, and he is one of the, like, him and Spider-Ham I thought were the comic ones, and then the girl with the robot, Penny Parker, I thought she was like the one who has like the muscle, you know, because she's got the all-purpose tool there. You know, Spider-Gwen is just badass.
Spider-Gwen's awesome in this movie. It made me want to see a Spider-Gwen movie. That's something
I want to see all of these movies.
I gotta tell you, like, it's been a long time since I've seen a movie that concludes and I go, I can't wait to see another one of these.
I know, because like the possibilities are endless, and there's so much you can do with this conceit of mixing a few Spider-Men together.
Not like, okay, we got cliffhanger, so we gotta watch the next one.
No.
It's I want to see a part 2.
Overall, this movie just had the right pitch of everything. Like, it's just self-aware enough, it's fun enough, but also weighty enough. There's some actual relevant character stuff for Miles to go through. It's imaginative.
Funny. It's so funny.
To look at. It's funny.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's funny.
And it does the villains great, too, because not only do you have the Prowler stuff, but you got Kingpin.
I've been saying for the longest time that out of anyone from those, like, TV shows of Marvel that should be in the MCU, it should be Kingpin. And I always go back to when I grew up on the Spider-Man cartoon, Kingpin was one of the main villains. I would love to see Kingpin in one of these movies, and then sure enough, it's Spider-Verse that gives us that villain. I've heard some complaints about him being underwritten. I could feel that. I liked him, though. I felt like he did the Kingpin job. I don't know if that's coming from the fact that people watch Daredevil, and Kingpin's so freaking fleshed out in that show.
Such a character.
But I felt for what the position is Kingpin plays in this movie, I was totally satisfied with him. I like his design. He's got like a whole body, and then there's a head.
And most of the time he takes up just half the screen, literally. And I also think that, while that is a reasonable criticism of that character, I do think that in the villains department, this movie still gets a good, weightier villain with the Prowler.
Yeah.
Because they spend time just letting him and Miles hang out, just him as Aaron Davis, and bond together. And that's some really effective stuff about the movie, because that goes back to his family life and his relationship with his dad.
I was actually surprised when Prowler was killed.
Yeah,
and I
me
liked the
too.
way they handled that moment. moment of he takes off the mask, then he slowly puts it back on him.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then he gets shot. It was pretty sad. I'm so glad this movie didn't end with some cliffhanger of, oh no, the dad's gonna be hunting down Spider-Man now. As if for a hot second, I thought that's where it was headed now.
Yeah, me too. And
But I like that there's an arc, there's a resolution to how he feels about Spider-Man. He's essentially going to be like his Jim Gordon in a way.
Yeah, and I really liked
cool.
both of the aspects, like his dad at odds with Spider-Man stuff, but also just his relationship with his family. I thought was really well done in this.
It felt
movie
very
too.
real, very
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
And I liked how he was half black, half Latino. It's just in tune with the comics.
Yeah.
But it's cool that they kept it in the movie.
Yeah, there's just so much color and flavor to this movie, and there's so many things to point to and be like, this is really great about this.
Yeah.
This is really magical. And yeah, you just leave dazzled.
And the finale of the movie, too, it was interesting watching this movie because I felt like a lot of times in these origin movies, they've already like fulfilled their origin pretty early on.
Yeah.
Like beginning of Act 2 or middle of Act 2. They're that character.
Yeah,
and
you
it was,
master the power.
It was cool that when he finally dons the suit, it's actually the first trailer we got for Into the Spider-Verse, and I forgot about that. Yeah. So when the suit showed up on screen, I was like, whoa, cool
snap,
suit.
Yeah,
And then he starts doing stuff, and it's rewarding, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're really good at their jokes with familiarity. Like when he's about to go make his first big jump, and then he goes back down the stairs.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
even when he gets bit by the spider, then just whacks it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it knows when to be real and when to be kind of lived in a cheeky sort of way.
I love the surprise of the Doc Ock. Because I felt like
Yeah.
they really kept it. I couldn't remember that in the trailers because I was looking at some scenes that we've seen, but I'm like, I don't remember seeing the
I was
Doc
like,
Ock
did
character
they edit
there.
that out? Like,
Yeah,
did they
and I think
manipulate
Catherine
some of the-
Hahn voiced her, which is great. You get so many Spider-Man characters, but you also get like these cool nuggets of villains that were so cool to look at.
Well, yeah, and in a different way than the live action stuff does it, this is really able to make it feel like a comic book world where all the villains coexist, and it's not weird to think about like, well, wouldn't there be other villains, or where are the other people?
You could talk about Kingpin being underwritten. I'm like, he's still better than a lot of other movies, you know?
Sure, but you know, we also got two other villains that are pretty interesting.
He was still
like,
intimidating and served the purpose, and by the time you get to the finale where they're like battling inside of that weird...
the Hadron Collider thing.
Yeah. That was intense stuff. And when he killed Spider-Man in the beginning of the movie, I was like, whoa!
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like, in contrast to a lot of superhero movies, you feel the weight of a lot of those things in just a way that struck me as being kind of different than a lot of the other like world domination.
You even get a
plots,
different
like-
version of Aunt May that was subtly done. Who's just like, yeah, I'm in on this.
Yeah, it was kind of like also an Alfred too, in a totally badass kind of way.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it nods, you know, cheekily to all the different aspects of Spider-Man, like especially when they go down in the cave and it's got like the motorcycle and the buggy, and if you look in the backgrounds of most all of the scenes, you're gonna find interesting little Easter eggs.
The addition of Miles Morales' powers too, of the fact that he can go invisible, the electricity power he has, of how that became such an integral part of his growth. When Peter Parker like sweeps him, and he's like, until you can go stealth on command, like all those things. Oh man, it's so neat how they handle the powers that they're so internal with how his mindset is at.
Yeah,
How he has to learn to let go and have faith and all these things.
He has to grow
beautiful.
to meet the occasion, yeah.
And then you get this like hilarious post-credit scene too with Miguel O'Hara.
Miguel O'Hara, yeah.
This-
Which is like future. He's like, it's the future, you know.
Which I found out is Oscar Isaac.
I guess so.
Because I saw Oscar Isaac's name listed as interesting person number 1 on the credits. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I found out, oh, that's Oscar. I read it on some article that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was such a funny post credits too, because just the payoff is amazing.
Yeah, when it goes back to the meme.
Yeah.
It was from a real episode from the 60s show.
Oh yeah. And then they just inserted him into it. But like, I appreciated that they went the extra mile to make a post credits that's cool and exciting, but not necessarily an ad for something, and ultimately just becomes a really funny joke.
This is a movie that I could talk about forever. I've bought tickets for things like twice, like Infinity War. I bought tickets twice already in advance because I knew I just had to watch it again.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's an Infinity War. This is the first movie in a long time, years I'm talking, where I watch it and right when I'm leaving, I'm already on my phone trying to find tickets for another
Let's
screening.
do that again.
Oh, yeah. The one like criticism outside of the movie that I feel like this could run into is kind of a Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas situation, because everyone kind of associates this as a Phil Lord Chris Miller joint. When I'm like, yeah, one could say their fingerprints are all over this, which I've heard quite a few people say exactly like that. But it's not just their film. Like they're not even there's 3 directors and they're not any of them.
No.
And I don't remember any of their names. So that's what I mean. How this is kind of a Tim Burton Nightmare, because everyone goes, it's the Phil Lord Chris Miller Spider-Man movie, but I'm like, it's not that though.
It does have earmarks of their sensibility, but yeah, no, mad props to the
There's
directors.
like different writers on there.
Because it totally has its own vibe, and it does feel very crafted. I don't know. It feels very much like it has its own unique voice, and I do think, that those directors definitely deserve some credit.
This is one of the reviews that when I'm editing this, I'm going to look back and go, should have mentioned this, should have mentioned this, should have mentioned this. I know it's going to be that, but right now, these are,
This is the feeling.
I love this movie. I do. It was special. All right, guys, well, what's your favorite part about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Leave your comments down below. You guys can subscribe to the Reject Nation, click that notification bell, and download and follow us on the Stardust app today, people. Yeah!